Hello, back again. I've assembled all the winch gear now, as you can probably see. Quite a detailed process. There's quite a lot of stuff going on in there, and as always, because I can't help myself, I've changed a few bits because I wasn't particularly happy with them. So what I've done basically is move that sections 24, 25, 26, 27. Okay, there's really quite a lot of stuff on there. It's a surprising amount of stuff on there. Nothing particularly difficult. One thing I would mention is that this part here, which is H36 and H37, H36 doesn't exist. It's 2 times H37. I'm sure you'd have worked that out yourself without any problem at all. Other than that, everything went together really quite easily. I'll go into a little bit more detail in a second or two. Nothing on there. I've already mentioned the winch cable that I put on the spare wheel there, so that's unnecessary to say anything. So, starting with the winch itself. What I've done is the 2 cable drums, painted them before I put the cable on. Again, the bit of string that they've supplied to put on the drums, to me, doesn't look anything like steel cable, so I've replaced it. It's actually 1mm picture wire, but it's exactly the same in miniature as a steel cable, and it acts the same way. It doesn't bend easily. Anybody that's worked with those steel cables knows that they have a mind of their own, and they basically do what they want unless you fight them. I've to fix them on, because the hooks on the end are a little bit small. What I've done is, let's move that light a little, that's better. What I've done is used a bit of tube to connect it to the cable to the hook. When that's painted, it will look real. It will look as though it's got a proper lead connection on the end of it, then glued it down. The pogo stick for the Susies is really quite fragile. It's very, in fact, it's very fragile. So you need to be a bit careful with that. On the side here, I've glued a little piece of spare plastic onto the side of there, because these 2 pipes were springing around in fresh air. So they needed something to support them down there, so I've put a piece of plastic on, and when it's painted, it'll look quite natural. There's nothing else that I've altered except all of these pipes that come down from the hydraulic tank on the kit go down and just finish underneath, and I didn't like that at all. So what I've done is I've continued them on. I've put tubes onto them, silicone tubes, which you may remember from previous videos. I feed a 0.5mm, 0.5mm copper wire through them so that I can form them into the shapes that I want. Pass them through. They then come up behind this panel and up to the controls. You won't be able to see them in there. I'm probably wasting my time doing it, but they do come up. Can you see them? No, can you make? But they do come up and they connect onto the bottom of the controls. They then come down on the back. They come out through the back of that control panel, and they connect to the 2 pipes here, which then connect to the hydraulic motors on the winches. Again, these 2 just go around and finish there, and it just doesn't look right. It looks shot off, because that's exactly what it is. For the sake of a little bit of plastic to put underneath those, especially when you can see through the grating. Let me turn that so you can see it. You can see through the grating that the pipe works under there, and if it's not under there, where did it go? So that did extra. That took maybe a couple of hours, that's all. Some very fragile bits. These handles are very fragile. You're going to have to be careful of the whole thing. That's about it. There's not a huge amount to go on there now. It's all finished. One thing I would say is this toolbox, when you put that toolbox on and then put this photo etch on top of it, if you don't paint the top of that toolbox first, then you're going to see yellow plastic underneath it. So I would advise you just with a brush, it takes a couple of seconds, paint that and then put the photo etch on the top. Likewise with the inside of this toolbox, you'd have the devil's own not toolbox, with this control box. Paint the inside of that before you put the photo etch panel on the front of it. If you don't, you will see yellow plastic all the way through it. For some unknown reason, I can't see that I've done anything wrong. I reformed it twice. There's a gap at the side of this photo etch. I'm sure shouldn't be there, but it is. It doesn't seem to go all the way round. There's a ½ mm gap down either side. I can't do anything about it because it means sticking an extra piece on, which would look horrendous. Other than that, that's about it. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to paint that a base green, as with everything else, and then we're going to move on to section 28, which I've already done, which is the fifth wheel, the mud guards and the exhaust system. We've already done that, so we're not going to worry too much about that. After that's done, the unit is completely finished. So the next video, what will happen is I'll have it all put together, have the winch gear put on, I'll paint the camouflage on it, and this time, unlike the first truck that I built, I'm going to try some rudimentary weathering. I've never tried it before. I'm going to try it. I've got some watercolour pencils that will help me do the weathering. I've also learnt how to mix some rust colours and muck colours, mud, things like that. I'm not going to do it the way I've seen it on a lot of videos where the truck looks as though it's been parked in a war zone, parked up and left, abandoned for 10 years. Just as though it's done some work, it's done some miles, and it's been washed, but you can never wash all the grime off a lorry, you know that yourselves. And I'll see how we get on with that. And that will be the next video. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave them in the comments portion below. And it would be great if you would like and subscribe. Thanks very much. Ta-ra.